And I think there's that, especially on the first round, you've got that jump between doing race one and you get yourself dialed in, you know how the car's handling, you know how the tyres are handling, and you have that extended break, and you come back in for race two, and then you're just like, oh wait, I've got to remember that it's suddenly cold tyres again. You can't just go back and give it the beans, because these cars are very, very leery. They love the rear end loves to slide out, and I think that from what I saw there in race two, that's certainly, and then there you go, Matty Chambers proving exactly what it is. I mean, you can properly drift these cars on, and they will give you so much confidence thinking, right, I can hold it, and I can hold it, right until the moment where you don't.
Sorry, Matty, we didn't mean to show you having a bit of fun like that.
It was a public demonstration, John, that's all it was.
Yeah, he was doing it for us, so thanks, Matty, for that, for giving us that show. Just hope we don't do it during the race, that's all. And maybe Luke Apino's going to give us a little showing too of what he's capable of. But keeping those cars on the track, that's half the key. Talking to Ryan Martin at the end of the first race last week, and in fact the second race he won by 8 seconds. He was keeping out of trouble, although maybe not quite as much trouble as we might have thought. With losing those 20 points, and you'll be gutted about that. And that's a really good point you made there, David, that at the end of the season, those 20 points could be really crucial.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, again, from experience here, John, I've seen it so many championships where, and it makes it horrible because it's almost ruining those little mistakes. And truth be told, 9 times out of 10 it wouldn't make any difference whatsoever. But it just makes it horrible at the end of the season to know that there could have been things that you could have done differently. Whether or not those would have done is a different matter. As Stu McFadden does another fastest lap there, 51.274, shaving about 1/100th of a second as back up into P2. That is a cracking lap there from Paul Hayhoe for the RAF. They're getting up into to second place there. But again, you're saying, what's that, 4 cars now within 1/10 of a second?
I know, and just look down the list. I mean, get down to the top 10. Adam Barron is only 4 tenths behind in 10th place, and you can see Chris Durnall there as well. And Chris Slater just coming into place as well. He's only 0.445 of a second off that top spot. So I think as we ramp up into the last 5 minutes, we're into the last 5 minutes of qualifying now, I think we're going to just see a few people really going for it to see if they can grab some of those top places at the top of the grid for the first race. Really important.
Well, obviously at Brands Hatch here, John, our first corner is going to be that infamous Paddock Hill bender. A wonderful steep drop, reminds me quite a lot of Duffy Step at Knock Hill. How many cars over the course of this first race do you think we're going to have left at the end of it, out of these 26 or how 28 cars?
Yeah.
Well, we've got Glenn Griffin and Barry Abbott, so it's 28. They've just not qualified yet. How many cars do you think we're going to have left at the end of it all?
That's quite a question.
I know normally it'd be who do you think is going to win? It's how many are we going to have left?
Well, I think it's the last car standing, isn't it? Well, I think it's those drivers who show the most discipline are the ones who are going to be left, and so hopefully it'll be a large number. We don't want to see lots of cars drifting out of contention in this race. We want to see as many cars as possible finish, but when they're all bunched up together at the start, I think it will give us a really good clue, won't it, about who is going to be left after the race is over.
I think you're absolutely spot on with that, and I'm just seeing the times getting closer and closer and closer, and I've just realised we've almost got 15 cars within half a second.
Amazing.
As we see Stu McFadden across the line here. 2.5 minutes left to go in qualifying. It's going to have to be something special to knock Stu off of the top spot. Of course, we figured out by means of exclusion that Stu is actually the same Stu McFadden that I was thinking about from earlier on. Used to be quite good friends with him. We kind of lost touch for a couple of years, and then he disappeared, and then I see him, he's now actually in the RAF, and we had a good catch-up session, and it's just fantastic to see somebody making the transition into the armed forces. Always a very bright and chirpy young lad, and great to see his talents. Even if I am slightly green with envy at how good he is behind the wheel of the sim, always have been. But he's just a ridiculously talented young man. But he's really been made to work for it right now, because we have got so many cars that are within contention tonight. And what I love about this, unlike some other motorsports that we've been watching at the weekend, you have absolutely 100% no idea who is going to take the race win here in this first race, because any one of those top 20 have a legitimate chance to take the crown on this first race.
Well, listen, I'm going to stick my neck out here, David. I think that we're going to see Craig Durrant in there. We mentioned him right at the beginning. He had a mare of a start to his championship last week. Things can only get better for him. I think we're going to see him come roaring back here tonight, because I've seen him do so well on this course in a previous couple of years. So for me, I would be very surprised if we don't see Craig Durrant up there amongst the leaders on the first race tonight. But that's me. I've probably put the curse on him now.
We'll have to keep an eye on that. But I think that is actually a really good shout, because we saw that all through the last season. The issue I've got with that is that I think he's got the skill, I think he's got the pace to do that, but with it being such a small circuit here at Brands Hatch Indy, it's going to be the case of where is he going to be able to do that? Where is he going to be able to make the moves? Obviously, he'll be able to try and send it up the inside into Druids, possibly round into Clark Curve and things like that. But, you know, I always look at it about probability, about risk. And for me, with the fact that Craig is down there in 11th place at the moment and not looking likely that he's going to be able to move up any further right now, that's 10 risks that he's got to take to try and move up through the field there. So we'll wait and see, but I think that is a very, very good bet that Craig will be able to make his way up through. I think he'll definitely for sure be up in the top 5 at the end of this, but qualifying comes to an end then. Stu McFadden, currently your provisional pole sitter right now. Paul Hayhoe has thrown in the towel. He's in the pit lane. You've got Ryan Martin currently in third. A lot of the cars making their way into pit lane. So it does look like, for the most part, Stu McFadden taking pole position right now. But again, we have to wait and see, that make sure everybody crosses that line.
We do indeed. And interesting to see a certain James King as well, who I thought he would be up there amongst the leaders in qualifying, but I don't think he's got into the top 10 at all. In fact, he's done in 16th as far as the figures are that I have in front of me. So we'll just see what happens. And very shortly, I think we'll be getting the grid roundup and the grid lineup for us for this first race. And Brands Hatch getting itself ready. The weather's a darn sight better down there than it is where I am tonight. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it's clear up here. It's cold. It's Scotland, to be fair. It's always this way. But there we go. The grid is in for our first race of the evening here at Brands Hatch Indy. Stu McFadden takes pole position from Paul Hayhoe, with Ryan Martin starting row 2 alongside Will Fox. Row 3 is going to be Tom Stevens with Chris Pawley, and row 4 is Luke Arpino with Chris Boland. Row 5 is going to be Matty Chambers, and the first that's not in the contention for that with the Royal Navy. Chris Darnell in 10th position with British Army. Craig Durrant then only able to make 11th place with the British Army car. Adam Barn in 12th position on row 6. Row 7 is going to be Chris Slater and RAF. Michael Clough in 14th position. Row 8 is going to be John Finch. James King in 16th position. Row 9 is going to be Jez Banks, and then you've got Stu Etic alongside Dan Berris in row 10, with Ben Weston alongside him in 20th position. Rhys Bose and Dan Hardwick in row 11. 23rd is Steve Ward. 24th is Jack Adjuski, and then 25th and 26th at the back of the grid is Lyndon Noble. Colin Scott. 27th and 28th is Barry Abbott and Glenn Griffin. And I'm almost having a heart attack there, as I thought we were about to get the race underway there, John. Now, just very quickly, what I need to say is that what we do have is slightly different. It is going to be a rolling start for this race.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of these mixed things. I think this might have been done by accident, but I think this is going to be a fantastic thing because the cars are up to speed by the time they get to turn 1.
I think it might avoid some carnage on turn 1. I agree, but well, they're underway now, so they're rolling off. It'll just be a question of how used the drivers are to having rolling starts. If I remember rightly, there were very few of them in last year's championship, so let's see how they deal with it.
Well, the thing is that unlike last year where it was like completely unannounced, it was actually announced in the chat to the drivers about 4 or 5 hours ago, earlier on this afternoon, that it was going to be a rolling start. So they have had advance notice that this is going to be the case. But again, it just depends on how the drivers, if they've checked their chat before they get going. Either way, the pace car gets round for our first race of the evening here. And I've got to be honest, I'm very, very curious. I'm very, very excited. Now, so many questions to ask, so many questions that we've got to answer, and we are going to get that over the next couple of laps. Are going to get a hefty amount in. Stu McFadden coming round the final corner, and look at that, he's already side by side with Paul Hayhoe, and we get ready to go racing there. Car slightly out of order. Stu McFadden sets them off. We get racing here, and it was an interesting start, we'll put it that way. That's going to be Ryan Martin side by side with Paul Hayhoe. Hayhoe keeps that position round the outside then, but Stu McFadden getting a little bit of a gap, and thankfully, like I was hoping, we've avoided that turn 1 stramash there, John.
Yeah, we have, yeah, and I think it was a good call to go for the rolling start. It just got everyone up to speed, literally, going over the line. So a few people going wide on the track there. I think everyone's going wide on the track there to make sure they've got plenty of grip. And it's, well, all to play for. But good start then for Stu McFadden and Paul Hayhoe, Ryan Martin following him as well. And good to see as well Tom Stevens from the Royal Navy getting up there into the top 5 places to start with. So let's see whether Tom can make some inroads into the airmen in these early moments of this first race.
Yeah, we were saying that Stu opened up a little bit of a gap there over Paul Hayhoe in that second place there, but that gap getting brought right back down. Again, with these GR86s on this 15-minute race, what they have to do with it being such a tight, fast circuit here, John, is making sure that they look after the tyres. The tyres should easily last this race here, but if you overheat them, if you slide the car around way too much, you will start making it greasy and very, very difficult to control. So you just want to take it nice and easy. You've got a car off in the background there. I think that might have been a Juski down in 20th position that went off there and not quite able to hold on. So he was backwards into the wall there. You can see James King here trying to get that position from Banks just in front of him. Banks sliding up the inside of the final corner there through Clark Curve, gets the position, and that is the battle for 14th and 15th position. But up the front then, Stu McFadden leads Paul Hayhoe, leads Ryan Martin, Will Fox up there in 4th position. You've got a fight here for 2nd place, so as Ryan Martin trying to have a little bit of a go here, up through into Druids, down the hill then, back over the left-hander at Graham Hill Bend along the Cooper Straight here. And this is just music to the ears of Stu McFadden, because while these 3 cars are fighting here, John, he is able to stretch out a fantastic 8/10 of a second gap here.
I know it's helping him, but good driving from all of them. I mean, they're really holding those. Look at that line of 4 there, neck and neck. They could not be closer, but any mistakes, they're going to be capitalised on. But yeah, great start from Stu McFadden. He'll be delighted with this and how he's nearly a second clear now. And this was the instant which involved Barry Abbott going off there at the end of that previous lap. And it's so easy to lose it, isn't it? And maybe he didn't have enough grip. Maybe the grip just wasn't up to speed on his tyres. But yeah, look, it's now 1.2 seconds the lead that Stu McFadden has. He's increasing his lead there at the top.
Yeah, it's very easy for that sort of incident to happen at Paddock Hill Bend. Here's Matty Chambers going off track slightly coming around that final corner there at Clark Curve. It gets on with it, and well, to be honest, that's a fairly uneventful moment for him. However, Paul Hayhoe having some connection issues there, just behind Ryan Martin in that battle for, or was that actually Will Fox? It was Will Fox, because of course Stu McFadden is the car that's way off at the distance, 1.3 seconds off there. You can see Fox into the gravel there. This is now bringing Tom Stevens up into the mix, and your man that you were tipping earlier on for a strong performance, Craig Dunn, making some progress, but maybe not as fast as he'd like, because he's down into 10th position as Chris Bolland and Luke Arpino. In fact, what has happened there to Matty Chambers as well?
He's gone right down, hasn't he? He's dropped down to 15th, and must have had some sort of incident there. But Craig Durrant holding his own in the top 10 at the moment. He got up as far as 9th, but then Adam Barron recovered that 9th spot. Luke Arpino doing well in 8th, and well, it's look at McFadden. He's still got that 1 second gap, which at this level actually is quite a useful little lead to have at this stage in the race.
Certainly is. Here's what happened to Matty Chambers then.
Yes.
Unprovoked through it, just sort of had an accident all himself, and you've got some cars trying to make their way up on the inside there, getting their way around. But also that gap with Stu McFadden coming down. Ryan Martin absolutely on it right now, and I'm wondering if Stu's maybe pushed a little bit too hard too early. But this also shows what happens when Ryan Martin isn't under pressure now. So Stu possibly trying to manage this gap here, but it is coming down quite quickly now, given that he was well over a second. I wonder if there's maybe been a minor mistake here from Stu McFadden. Never mind that, as Paul Hayhoe goes side by side with Will Fox there. This is cracking little battle, and you can see again Will Fox having those connection issues there disappearing. That's going to make things difficult for Paul Hayhoe to accurately judge where that car is. But either way, Will Fox takes that position. Hayhoe has another little look up the inside there, thinks better of it, and that is a great move for the final step on the podium. 5.5 minutes gone in this first race, and John, this is everything that I didn't think it was going to be. This is clean. This is exactly what we had in race 1 at Silverstone. Clean, respectful, and very, very intelligent driving from all of these racers.
Yeah, they're all doing very well, and I'll tribute to them for that, because it's not easy. It's not easy to control these cars on a tight track like that, especially when there's the pressure. You know, it's so tight. Just look at those times. It's so close at the top there. Certainly for the top 6 or 7. It's absolutely neck and neck. These 4 actually are sort of building up a bit of a lead now, aren't they? I suppose with Stevens, Hayhoe, Fox, and Martin behind McFadden. But you're quite right. Ryan Martin is now within just under half a second of Stu McFadden, so he's really chasing him.
He absolutely is, and I'm wondering if that is Stu maybe just trying to ease off a little bit, manage these tyres on this track here. I'll be curious to see how the cars handle at the end of these 15 minutes there. We're watching as well that beautiful little battle there between Adam Barron, Luke Arpino and Craig Durrant there. That was for 7th, 8th and 9th position respectively, but this is Darren Berris now. This is the fight for 17th position. You've got Weston just up in front there, just about 0.3 of a second up in front. Ben Weston doing a good job, you've got to say, trying to hold on that position, but you get a little sense of inevitability here from Darren Berris there. Takes the inside line through that final corner, through Clark Curve there, and to be honest with you, it was almost like Ben was aware of that and just decided to just to know his limits, if that was it. There was no real attack or defence that went on. But talking of attack, Ryan Martin now, 0.2 of a second. You can see it there, right on the bootleg of Stu McFadden here. This is going to get very, very spicy. In fact, we're almost going to have a change for the lead coming out this final corner.
I know, he's done brilliantly as Ryan Martin. Got himself, look, he's right back in. He's in the slipstream. He's looking now for an opportunity to get past, and he hasn't yet. But goodness me, he's so close. He's almost pushing him along, isn't he? Ryan Martin, though, has, we're riding with him now. He is so close to Stu McFadden that he couldn't be any closer. I mean, maybe they'll be sharing their lunch if they're not careful before too long. But that is really close. And leaving the other two behind. So it's a bit of a two-horse race. He's flashing his lights as well at the moment. So is he flashing him, saying, "Come on, move over. I've got a bit of pace here." But it's good defensive work from Stu McFadden just at the moment, keeping him at bay.
It certainly is, but the thing is, John, Stu McFadden, that last lap there, was slower than the entire 6 cars behind him. He did a 51.7, and the other cars were all well under that. So that means now Will Fox is now in with his chance at taking this lead here. Paul Hayhoe is going to be brought up. Tom Stevens is going to be brought up. And if they're not careful, Paulie's going to come back up into this as well. This is going to get very, very fighty in the next couple of minutes here. We're well over the halfway point in this first race here. And this, if this was simmering away, bubbling away nicely, then I think this is going to start boiling over very, very quickly indeed. Stu, again, from experience, masterfully defensive driver. He knows exactly where to put that car. However, it's going to be a case of, where is that pressure going to go?
It has suddenly become a 4-horse race, if you look at it, with, 0.3 of a second separating them. They're so close now, and interesting that Ryan Martin's taken a bit of a wide track there, but still holding off this Stu McFadden. He's defending absolutely magnificently, I have to say. But a mistake from any of these drivers now, and we could see a massive change at the top.
We certainly could, and Stu McFadden having to lead that train through. Ryan Martin, you've got to say, is stuck between a rock and a hard place right now because he wants to push Stu and to get that position, but he also has to be very careful knowing that Will Fox is right behind him. He's also got Paul Hayhoe, you've got Tom Stevens now in that mix, so it's now a 5-car battle for the lead with just 4 minutes and 55 seconds left to go here. How long can this pressure pot last? How long can this contain all of this pressure right now? And where does Ryan Martin make the move? What I love is the fact that how restrained Ryan is. He's not making stupid moves. He's not throwing the car in left, right and centre. He's waiting his time here. The problem is, how long is going to be too long here?
What this battle has done, it's just brought so many cars into the race. It really has. And looking at Chris Pauly, he's now right up there as well. So in 6th place, and he's got a chance. This race could go in any number of different directions at the moment. But Stu McFadden, you've got to give him his due here. He really is still holding on really well with the marauders behind him.
Well, it's temporarily down to a 3-car race as Paul Hayhoe made a mistake coming out of the 3rd corner there at Graham Hill Bend there along the Cooper Straight, ran wide and he had to come back on the straight. Fortunately avoided Tom Stevens, so he is out of it for just now, but with the pace these 3 are doing, he may very well come back into it in 2 or 3 laps time. Meanwhile then, Stu McFadden still leads Ryan Martin from Will Fox. You've got Paul Hayhoe in 4th, Tom Stevens in 5th, Chris Pauly in 6th, Chris Boland in 7th, Adam Barron in 8th place, Craig Dunn in 9th, and then you've got King in 10th as well, James King. What a race we have had here for this first round. Scintillating stuff. We've only got a couple of minutes left to go. You had a look at the inside there, did Ryan Martin, but you saw Stuart McFadden just drifting out a little bit wide there. But this is it. This is going to be the chance surely for Ryan Martin. No, not quite close enough. Not quite getting the overlap. And Stu McFadden just getting the better run out of that final corner here as to the outside has a look from Fox, tries to drag that corner around the outside. You've got a puff of smoke as the car goes off into the background here. This is all starting to get very, very fighty indeed here as a little bit of a connection issue there from Stu McFadden, but Ryan Martin still having to watch his mirrors and watch that car in front with just 2.5 minutes left here, John.
It's like an invisibility cloak that suddenly Stu McFadden put on his car then, that connection issue. It just suddenly reappeared. It's a bit like Harry Potter and an invisibility cloak. But anyway, they are back and we can see all 3 of them now. This is such a brilliant race, really, for these top 3 places. I'm taking my hat off to Stu McFadden here. I think if he holds on to win this race from the front, he'll be absolutely exhausted because he's basically had a rearguard action for at least 2/3 of this race to keep the likes of Ryan Martin and Will Fox at bay.
For sure. And just 2 minutes left to go on the race. A little bit of a squiggle from the car of Stu McFadden under braking here. Ryan Martin still trying to make this happen here. But again, this is just so respectful from the three drivers here. We cut away to Matty Chambers having to have a fight here with Banks in 13th position here. Again, a three-car fight. This is the fight for 13th, 14th position. Up the inside goes Matty Chambers like candy from a baby. Thank you very much, he says, and he will take that every single day of the week. No reply, no response there whatsoever as Ryan Martin still trying to make this happen, but you get the feeling that there's only going to be maybe 2 laps left in this race here. And I've noticed Ryan Martin takes a wide line across the start finish line. That's to make sure that Will Fox can't get any more of a run on him than is absolutely necessary here. And I get the feeling that Ryan might be waiting to make a last minute lunge just to make sure that Stu can actually take that position back, or we'll just have to wait and see here, John. But either way, a fantastic race one here, and every single one of these drivers can hold their head up high.
There are some back markers coming up as well. Now, are they going to start playing a part in this race as the leaders catch them and have to make some adjustments in the way they're driving? The back markers presumably will pull over to allow them through if necessary. But look, it's getting really close now. We have a couple of back markers there who are in danger of being lapped. That's unusual in this racing, isn't it, I suppose? But because it's such a small track, maybe it's not such a surprise. But I don't think I can recall lapping going on quite so early on in an event as has happened. But yeah, Stu McFadden, brilliant performance from him, and Ryan Martin incredibly disciplined as well, with Will Fox as well, and Paul Hayhoe now is about a second behind, but so now they're going past those back markers, the first of them, and again, good disciplined driving from the guy.
Oh, big mistake there from Will Fox coming out the final corner there. Contact with Ryan Martin. The two of them will get back on there, but that was an absolute howler there from Will Fox there. Nothing more than a bona fide mistake and an accident there. No intent whatsoever, but Stu McFadden comes across the line to win race one. Paul Hayhoe, out of absolutely nowhere, is going to be rather delighted, I would think, with that one. Second place for him. Tom Stevens, out of nowhere, gets third place. Chris Pawley in fourth position. Chris Mullins in fifth. Ryan Martin then coming across the line in sixth position. Adam Barron in seventh. Will Fox in eighth position. Craig Dunn in ninth. And 10th place going to Chris Darnell. But my goodness, John, that last corner changed everything.
That race had absolutely everything, didn't it? It really did. And you've got to you really have got to feel actually for Will Fox there, because he and Ryan Martin as well, who basically suffered as a result of Will's mistake there. But that was so close. And it's always that possibility, isn't it? When drivers are so close to each other, one little error and it can suddenly change the course of the race.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the fact that it was unintentional won't change the frustration for Ryan Martin there, but watching Will there on the entry, I just think he took a little bit too much speed in. The car was a little bit unstable. He made the mistake of touching the brakes, and of course that's it. Game over. The car spears off into the left-hand side there. And, the rest, as they say, is history. But what a race that was there. Stu McFadden taking the win there from Paul Hayhoe, who inherits second place there. Tom Stevens in third position. Chris Pawley finishes in fourth position. Chris Mullins in fifth. Ryan Martin in sixth. Adam Barron in seventh. Will Fox in eighth. Craig Dunn in ninth position. Chris Darnell in 10th. And then it's James King in 11th, with John Fitch in 12th position. 13th and 14th was Matty Chambers and Jez Banks, who quite honestly were fighting it out all the way through that race there. Rhys Bowes and Darren Berris in 16th and 17th position. Ben Weston finished in 18th position. 19th was Stu Etic. Jack Ajewski in 20th position. Chris Slater we saw coming into misery earlier on during the race there. Dan Hardwick finishing in 22nd. Colin Scott is in 23rd. Lyndon Noble, Barry Abbott, Glenn Griffin, Steve Ward Michael Clough all finishing multiple laps down there. But John, race 1 in the books already. My goodness me, there's going to be a lot of talking. We'll come back to that in a second, because here is the Wheel of Fortune. I'm sure we need to come up with a better name for it than that. However, it's going to be a top 6 reverse grid, which means that it's not so bad. There's a silver lining, because Ryan Martin is going to be on pole for race 2.
I'm sure he'll be delighted about that. It will sweeten the pill a little bit for him, but maybe not that much, because he's thinking, I was so close. I was so close to getting past Stu McFadden, and I think we should take our hats off to Stu, don't you? Because that was a terrific performance from him, to hold that lead right from the word go, and to fend off all those challenges that came his way throughout that race. He was probably quite delighted to see what was going on behind him on that last bend, but nevertheless, great race from Stu McFadden, and he well deserved that win.
He absolutely did there. So race 1 is in the books. We'll be returning to the track very, very shortly for race 2, and then of course after race 2 we'll have our usual post-race interviews. I'd be very interested to hear what the drivers made of that first race there, John, because again, with such a tight track there, I am a little bit taken aback at how fantastically clean that was. We said that there was a big risk for a lot of things going on and a lot of things going wrong, and quite frankly, none of that happened. Yes, we had that last corner moment, but I think that was definitely an outlier there.
But beware, race 2 is coming up.
I've jinxed it, haven't I?
We know what happened last week with race 2. But no, I think you're right. I think all the drivers deserve a huge pat on the back for really disciplined driving there. The one mistake, which was a mistake, let's face it, it was definitely there was nothing intentional there at all. So I think all the drivers deserve a big round of applause for their performance in that first race, and let's hope they can keep it up in the second.
Yeah, for sure. So a fantastic race 1 is in the books. We are going to take a very short break, and when we come back, we are going to have live coverage for race number 2. So don't go anywhere. As always, hit subscribe, hit like on the video, and if you can, we would very, very much appreciate it if you want to share the video with all your friends and family and get your support in the chat as well. Let us know who you are going to be supporting for race 2 tonight. We'll be back very, very shortly, and we'll see you on the other side. welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Race 2 of the Armed Forces Virtual Race Challenge. We are here at Brands Hatch Indy Circuit. It's David Christie here with John Knighton, ready for Race 2, and we're on the grid, so let's power through it. Ryan Martin takes pole position from Chris Boland, Chris Pawley on third, Tom Stevens on fourth, Paul Hayhoe in fifth, with Stu McFadden in sixth position, your Race 1 winner. Adam Barron starts seventh alongside Will Fox in eighth position, Craig Dunn in ninth, Chris Darnell in 10th, James King in 11th, John Finch in 12th position. In P13 is Matty Chambers, Jez Banks in 14th, Luke Arpino in 15th, Rhys Bowes in 16th, Dan Berris in 17th, Ben Weston in 18th, Stu Etic in 19th, Jack Ajewski in top 20, Chris Slater 21st, Dan Hardwick 22nd, Colin Scott 23rd, Lyndon Noble 24th, Barry Abbott in 25th, Glenn Griffin in 26th, Steve Ward in 27th, and Michael Clough in 28th position. And the reason I'm racing through that is because we are under a standing start this time, no rolling start this time, so we get the best of both worlds. It's Tom Stevens now, up around the outside, so into the lead goes Tom Stevens. Ryan Martin caught napping there, as we've got three wide, Chris Pawley, Will Fox and Paul Hayhoe all fighting it out. Who is going to come out on top into the third corner here? And again, they're also very well behaved here, but that looks like a little bit of an incident further back. Slater goes back, but great run there, and that is Will Fox off into the grass there. Exit stage right. I'm sure that wasn't in the plan there, John.
I think it was. In fact, was the standing start in the plan? Did it catch a few of the drivers off on the hop? Because obviously we had the rolling start for the first race, but a standing start for the second. But, Tom Stevens has gone off to an absolute flyer, hasn't he?
He absolutely has, and from checking the chat, they were told that it was just going to be race 1 that was going to be a rolling start there, because of course the championship normally operates on these standing starts. Meanwhile, Paul Hayhoe and Chris Pawley off into the gravel on that right hand side there. Now, has he hit the wall on that right hand side there? Paul Hayhoe now up into fourth position. Where is Stu? Where is our race winner from race 1? Stu McFadden is at the back of the field. Stu McFadden hasn't started the race.
Well, something must have clearly gone wrong, maybe a connection issue or something like that. But no sign of Stu McFadden. Maybe he's still drinking his champagne from winning the first race. I don't know. But I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, we have got off to a very quick start in this second race, haven't we? I mean, where is he? Where's Stu gone? Has his car run out of fuel? Did he not fuel it up properly for the second? Were the tyres gone? I don't know. But
that was a wild move there, John, from Matty Chambers there. I don't know if you saw it going sideways, and there's a car straight off. That is Finch down in 19th position, and that was a brutal hit there for John Finch. Exiting stage right there, went flying off into the barrier at the exit of Paddock Hill Bend there, and that car is almost certainly going to be written off. That is going to be no further part for that car there, and I get the feeling that there might have been either contact or that was a moment earlier on in that corner that was not able to be controlled. Meanwhile, back to the action here with Adam Barron in fourth position. Let's get a replay of what happened there. It does look like it was contact there from the car behind. Yeah, it does look like that was a little bit of contact from the car there, and I'm an optimistic person there, John, but I'm not sure that's gonna buff out. Masking tape.
I think his race is done. Maybe he's got a week of repairs ahead of him there, definitely, and unfortunate, because I think he was definitely pushed there. There was definitely a shove, and so it's cost him dearly. Presumably there'll be some points deducted from the person responsible.
I can hear the nails on the chalkboard from the stewards over here virtually already, and if they were displeased at race 2 last time, I think they're going to have a little bit to say. But compared to race 2 last week, actually, this is fairly tame so far. I'm touching the desk and every single wooden object in this room right now so that I don't jinx it. However, back to the lead of the race then, as Ryan Martin takes the lead from Tom Stevens. Beautiful move up the inside. Got that move started at Paddock Hill Bend through Pilgrim's Rise and just took the inside line at Druids there. Let's have another replay. This is going into that first corner there. You can see a little bit of contact there already. And again, that back rear bumper gets clipped there, sends the car off to the right, tries to hold on there. And, well, yeah, that is a horrible accident. And I tell you what, I hope that he doesn't have any expensive direct drive wheel equipment there, because that is going to be a painful moment if that's the case there. But Tom Stevens down in second place then, relieved of that race lead. Ryan Martin off into the sunset. A second up the road there, Chris Bolland into third place. Meanwhile, we've got all hell kicking off behind. You've got Adam Bam in fourth, Paul Hayhoe in fifth, Craig Dunn making a brilliant recovery drive there. Started in P9 up to P6 now, but have a look up the inside there. That was having a look from Chris Pauley. Not quite happening there, as James King into the top 10 as well as Luke Arpino. And again, some flashes there from Chris Pauley as Stu Etic, it looks like to have had a moment as well. He's going further down the order here.
Yeah, he dropped down to 13th, unlucky for some. But yeah, I mentioned Craig Durham, didn't I, at the beginning of the evening, and yeah, he's beginning to make a little bit of an impact here into the top 6 and very close behind Paul Hayhoe there. And so maybe we'll be seeing Mr. Durrant popping up into the top 5 before too long. But yeah, Ryan Martin, what a move he has made, and he's extending that lead, isn't he? He's just over a second now. He's clear of Tom Stephen, Chris Boland in third place, Adam Barron doing really well in fourth as well. So this race is beginning just to spread out a little bit. So you can see there's a bit of a gap now developing between these top 4 places and the cars that are behind.
There certainly is. And John, one thing that we do have to talk about actually is Tom Stevens, and given the the overwhelming number of RAF entries into this competition, I mean, it's obvious that they were going to have a very strong performance. However, Tom Stevens actually the highest placed driver, not in the RAF. He's racing for Royal Navy, and I think that's their best performance so far this season. So again, with the Teams Championship getting brought into this as well, that's going to be an interesting dynamic there, because you've now only got about maybe 6 cars for the RAF in that top 10. So again, it just shows how quickly things change here. Meanwhile, having a look up the inside then, this is the battle for 6th, 7th and 8th then. Chris Darnell moves up the inside there. Beautiful move there from Chris Darnell. Telegraphed that nicely, but it looks like Paulie takes that position back there. And this is swings and roundabouts, and you're going to have James King fancying a move up the inside. King is going to move up into 8th position here.
He has, and Craig Durrant, you know, the top placed Army driver at the moment. I think you mentioned team points, really important for them as well to start getting themselves some points on the board. RAF dominating, but yeah, good to see Tom Stevens there making a real fist of it. And of course, you know, he got a third place, didn't he, in the first race tonight. So it's been a good evening so far for the Royal Navy's Tom Stevens.
Absolutely has, and we're already rapidly approaching the halfway point in this second race of the evening here. I tell you what, that gap has now stabilised, and actually Tom Stevens is faster than your race leader, maybe spurred on a little bit from that pressure behind from the RAF car, the 186 of Chris Boland. That's a moment. That's, yep, Craig Dunn,
yeah,
the 2022 season champion. Heavy contact with the wall, and that is going to be that race over for the number 84 car. That is a hard hit into the wall there, and that car looks done and dusted.
Oh dear, Craig, I'm sorry we've put the mockers on you, haven't we? Because he was doing so well. He just lost it, and then on the grass, couldn't hold his position, and so Craig Durrant drops all the way down to 16th place. Can he find his, you know, he's into the pits. I think he's done some serious damage to the car there.
Yeah, the suspension is absolutely broken on that car. Back to Will Fox then. This is the battle for 10th and 11th place there. You've got James Bank up on the inside there, trying to hold on, looking a little bit raggedy, a little bit pushing, a little bit under pressure there as they come through. Druids then. This is what happened to your 2022 season champion. just a little bit of oversteer coming out of Graham Hill Bend. They're running on the grass. The car over-rotates and it's straight into the wall. So that is absolute heartbreak there for Craig Dunn, and this season is just not getting off to the same sort of start. However, another 8 rounds left to go to be able to pick this back up. This is Chris Slater from earlier on. That's a very unusual accident coming out of the final corner there. Just goes wide, thankfully gets away with it there, but that could have been a trip into the nearest wall there.
It was almost a rally control drift, wasn't it, that? On the grass there, but on a straight line.
Very peculiar.
Well, there you go. Mr. still in there. He's he's 20th place, so he's holding his top 20 position at the moment. Ryan Martin cementing his position. He's just increased by about half a second on Tom Stevens, and Chris Boland is still hanging on in there in 3rd place. Adam Barron 4th. Though there is a bit of a gap now, isn't there, between Barron and Boland? So at 3.5 seconds. So those top 3 are just beginning to edge their way clear in the second half of this second race.
Yeah, and this is an absolute ding-dong battle that we've got going on for second and third just now. Tom Stevens trying to hold on for dear life for that second position, and that is going to be a little bit of gravel off in the background there. You've got all hell kicking off. Glenn Griffin for the RAF in the background there. You've got a little bit further back still in the grass as well. That's Barry Abbott that's been caught up in that one as well. Again, more damage to these cars here. Gets going again, but at what cost? Meanwhile, Tom Stevens still in that second place ahead of Chris Boland. That gap now at 0.4 of a second, so that has eked up ever so slightly. But again, Ryan Martin looking very, very comfortable with 4.5 minutes left to go in this race. Let's take a replay of what happened to Glenn Griffin. He's all by himself there, makes the mistake there, and that is just so easy to do. The car off balance there, John, under braking for that first corner there, tries to hold on to it, and that is going to be a horrible hit there. Nothing you can do from the car, either from Glenn Griffin's point of view or from Barry Abbott, either way. And at which point both cars just an absolute passenger in that accident there.
Yeah, not quite the clean race that we had in race 1, is it? A few more mistakes creeping into the drivers. Maybe it's just fatigue, because it's so demanding, this track. You literally are. It's bend, corner, then a brief straight, then into the next bend. So I'm not surprised that we're seeing some more accidents in this second race than we had in the first. But Ryan Martin doing well again. This could be his 3rd win out of 4 races if he can keep this up. And although the gap is dropping down to 2 seconds now, with Tom Stevens chasing him, the Royal Navy man just tracing him, and Chris Boland in 3rd place. That's a really tight battle between those two. Boland making a bit of a move at the moment, but Stevens still holding his position.
Yeah, if I was Ryan Martin, I'd be feeling very, very happy with this fight going on right now, because it's just allowing that gap to eke out very close and very slowly. 3 minutes left to go in this second race of the second round here, and Tom Stevens then just ahead of Chris Boland. This is the fight that we're keeping an eye on, but then you've got that absolute stramash behind. You've got Adam Barron, you've got Paul Hayhoe, Chris Pawley and James King, all duking it out for 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th place, as well as all of the other battles going on there. You've got Luke Arpino and Will Fox. Fox looks like he's going to be trying to make a move, but you've got side by side coming into turn 1 then. Fox trying to go around the outside of Luke Arpino. It's not going to happen, but he's going to have the better run coming down that hill and possibly into Druids there, but that is going to be Luke Arpino closing off that line early on. Who's that off in the background? That is James King. So that is up down from 6th position. So James King losing out, gets the car back out. He's down into 10th position here.
So easy to make those mistakes, isn't it? And just a brief lack of concentration. Let's just see what happened to him, because he was going well, but just lost it. Just going in there a bit too tight, maybe behind, and that has been a common occurrence in this race. That bend has been a common problem for so many of the drivers.
It is because the characteristics, the handling characteristics, for those of you who haven't had a wonderful chance to drive these cars, the fantastic GR86 Cup cars here, the rear end of them is just absolutely wild. As to be fair, that was a back marker just deciding to nope out of that battle there. They were just like, I'm having nothing to do with it. Maybe a little bit dramatic, but we'll give them that nonetheless. But these GR86s are so tail happy. The power just sends the back end off as we see Adam Bam back up into 4th position there. But it just makes them so twitchy, so unstable, and so difficult, but so enjoyable to drive because they are just so fun. You know, you can hold on to a drift very, very easily in these cars here, as Glenn Griffin just decides to exit stage left there. I wonder actually if he's gone into the pits, John, realised that car is still absolutely broken, and ended up just not able to turn the car whatsoever.
Well, it looks like presumably he's just going to coast his way around and tour his way around to the pits now to get back there, and really his race is done, isn't it? But this is still developing into one heck of a fight between Tom Stevens and Chris Boland. Who's that who's come off there? Looks like
that is Michael Clough. That's off at the final corner there. But we're on to the white flag flies. This is the final lap then. And that gap has actually come down a little bit between Ryan Martin and Tom Stevens, down to 1.6 seconds there. So I'm wondering if that was to do with the car that was parked in the middle of the track there. It's stretched right back up to 2 seconds, because here comes Tom Stevenson and Chris Boland side by side coming round through Druids then for the final time of asking on the run down to Graham Hill Bend here. It's going to be now or never. You can see Luke Arpino having to fight it out with Will Fox there. We've got picture in picture. You can see the battle for second and third in the inset there, but that's a beautiful move there as Will Fox takes that position. But what can we see with Tom Stevens and Chris Boland? Is it going to happen? Not quite yet. Ryan Martin, though, makes it 3 out of 4 for the championship so far. He's the one to watch so far. Ryan Martin wins here at Brands Hatch Indy race number 2. Tom Stevens finishes in second place. Chris Boland will come across the line in third position. And then it is the battle for everyone else. Adam Bam is going to finish in fourth. Paul Hayhoe across the line in fifth, and Chris Polly in sixth position. But again, John, we've seen a very, very scrappy race too, and a lot of big names that we would expect to see at the top of the order there, not able to make a dent into this race.
Well, that's right, and I suppose the biggest question of all is what happened to Stu McFadden, because he never even appeared for the start of the second race, having done so well in that first race, having won that first race. Matty Chambers as well, really struggling, and Glenn Griffin in the pit exit now after his accident, and Craig Durrant, finishing 20th when he was pushing towards a top 5 place there, and then it all just went wrong for him. And as you say, that some of the most experienced drivers are just having a few issues. Michael Clough, really experienced driver, but just chaos really in those last few laps there, and the drivers just finding it really hard. Are they finding the new car too tough to handle? Who knows? Maybe we'll get some of those answers when we do the questions. But one person who is thoroughly enjoying himself, definitely, of course, is Ryan Martin. As you say, 3 wins out of the 4 races, and that's going to cement his position at the top of the championship.
Well, I was just about to say, John, we're about to get some answers shortly, because we're about to unleash you on the drivers and catch up with them. But here's the race results then for round 2 of our second round of the championship here at Brands Hatch Indy. Ryan Martin then taking the win from Tom Stevens. Chris Boland in third, Adam Bam in fourth. Paul Hayhoe comes across the line in 5th, Chris Polly in 6th, Will Fox in 7th position, Luke Arpino in 8th, Dan Berris in 9th, and James King rounding out your top 10. Chris Darnell finishes in 11th position, Stu Etic in 12th, Jack Ajewski making up for race 1 in 13th position, Dan Hardwick in 14th, Colin Scott in 15th, Chris Slater in 16th position, Ben Weston in 17th, Lyndon Noble is going to finish in 18th position, Steve Ward in 19th, Craig Dunn finishing in 20th position. That is a shocker. for us today. Michael Clough in 21st position, John Finch in 22nd, Jess Banks in 23rd, Rhys Bowes in 24th, Barry Abbott in 25th, Matty Chambers in 26th, Stu McFadden finishing in 27th. He got connected. We'll talk about that in a second. Glenn Griffin finishing 6 laps down in 28th position. Now, Stu actually put in the chat that he missed out because of the warm-up periods. He missed out on joining the session. But John, we've actually got both Ryan and Stuart for you to have a chat with.
We have indeed. Let's bring Stu in first. Stuart, what happened? Because obviously that was a brilliant first race for you, a brilliant victory, and you held off for so long the challenges of so many drivers. But what happened at the start of the second race? Though we didn't see you.
Yeah, I just didn't have time to join the session. We all know iRacing's got issues when you're trying to join league sessions, and sometimes you get caught out with it, and that's what. Just sit and click and refresh, Dave. You know what it's like for ages. Yeah.
Well, I have to be honest. It actually nearly caught us out, didn't it, Dave? Actually,
I was sitting behind the scenes with a coffee and some biscuits, and I get shouted that we're going live in 5 seconds. So consummate professionals that we are.
Absolutely. But Stu, we'll go back to the first race actually and just deal with that, because that was a terrific drive. You obviously got the pole position. You'd had a really good qualifying, and you actually went off at an incredible pace, and you had at some stage you had a 3 or 4 second lead, but the lads pulled it right back again, didn't they? And that was quite a battle going on behind you.
Yeah, so I've just got a new direct drive, which I got last week, and I just realised through that race, it's the first time I've properly tested it. I've left a couple of bolts loose, so I was going through up in the straights, I was pulling it up because I was basically driving with it on my knees, so I tightened them between. So yeah, it wasn't an ideal first race in terms of the way I was driving, but I still won, so who really cares?
I would say it's a highly ideal first race in the fact that you won. But lessons learned from race 2 then is that be prepared for a quick start. I mean, last week we had to wait for ages. There was some technical issues, obviously, we had to sort out to get the second race underway last week, but it came around very, very quickly. And of course, the other thing I was going to talk to you about was the start. Obviously, we had the rolling start for the first race and then a static start for the second as well, which of course you weren't able to be part of. Did you find that rolling start helpful at the beginning?
Yeah, the road starts. This car's really difficult to get off the line, but because it's got so low power, especially with it going uphill towards paddock, that would have been But it's the same for everybody, I suppose. So but I definitely prefer the rolling starts. But if we have to do, I think it's a good mixture, because some people prefer standing, some people prefer rolling starts. So for the league, the way they do it, it's very, very good to kind of cater for everyone, and that's sort of the best way, because everyone likes different things. So do you know what I mean? It's just like the best way to cater for everybody.
They certainly do. Great to talk to you, Stu. Thanks very much for your time this evening, and congratulations on that first race victory. Let's turn our attention now to Ryan Martin. Ryan, and this is becoming a bit of a regular thing, isn't it, having a chat with you? That was not bad. 3 wins out of the first 4 races, and I'm just going to say that you might have felt a bit annoyed actually after that the first race tonight, where obviously you were challenging very much for the lead, and then it all went a bit wrong with things that went on behind you. But you fought back really well in that second race.
Do you think I was just a little bit annoyed? Yeah, I mean, the first race was fun. Myself and Stu, we were able to get away, and then Stu's explained the issues that he had with his rig. I could tell something was wrong because he was quite slow, and I was trying to flash him to say, let me past, and just sit in my slipstream, we'll try and get away from them. But I knew something had went wrong, but I didn't know it was as bad as his rig was falling to bits, basically. But I genuinely thought we're just going to settle for P1, 2, 3. Obviously, I was mistaken. Will went for a move. I've looked back at the replay. He had snap oversteer. He tried to correct the car, and he just smashed right into me, unfortunately. But the good thing is we were both then able to get back on the track and finish the race, and it benefited me because somehow it meant that I started pole in the second race. So I can't really complain.
The spin of the wheel was certainly in your favour tonight with the for the start of the second and the change of positions. But that second race there, Ryan, was textbook stuff.
Absolutely. All I wanted to do was keep the car clean. At the start of the race, it was obviously chaos because I think I had somebody to my left, somebody at my back left, somebody right behind me. I felt a little bit, something terrible is going to happen here. But everybody somehow got through. I then made a couple of moves. I knew that at some point the two guys in front of me might make a little mistake or give me an opening, so I just bided my time. They then went a little bit wide at the hairpin, and then along the straight I was able to get a better exit out of the last turn. So I was able to get to the front and then let those guys battle, and I just drove away. So I wasn't trying to go quick. I've seen from my lap times I definitely wasn't going quick, but it worked out. I got the win, 0 incidents, and on to next week, and hopefully no more wipeouts, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, just talk about that, because you obviously dropped to 20 points, didn't you, from your initial sort of 100% record at the top. So certainly something to put right there, and you definitely did that tonight. Just wondering about the contrast in starts this evening. Obviously, we have the rolling start for the first race, and then the static start for the second. It's the same for everybody, as Stu McFadden said there, but it's such a contrast in the way that you actually gear yourself up for a race. If at a rolling start, obviously you're up to sort of the sort of speed you want to be going to, but from the static start, and these cars are not easy to start from a straight line, no, from the beginning.
You're totally right. The first race, I knew that this was the first season that Stu has raced in Afvrc, so I knew that he wasn't going to wait until the green light to go, so I was able to actually get a decent jump. I was able to get in a slipstream and almost get P2 into the first turn. I prefer rolling starts. They're more manageable. Nobody's at an advantage, nobody's really at a disadvantage, apart from the guy who's qualified on pole, which they earn that by getting pole. But I personally hate standing starts in these cars because I personally don't have a clutch. I know that some people do, and basically what I had to do was try and get the revs right, and then just drop it into first and hope that I actually moved. You can probably see from the stream, I lit up the back tyres, I hardly moved, the car bogged down, and then next thing I knew, as I said to you 2 seconds ago, there was just cars everywhere. And considering there's a few inexperienced guys racing, it's probably not the best thing to have Paddock Hill Bend like a traffic jam in Los Angeles. It's probably not a great idea, but it was entertaining, I hope, and that's the main thing. It was good racing, and hopefully the people watching the stream were entertained a little bit.
I'm sure they were, Ryan, and you'll be very pleased then with that. As I say, 3 wins out of 4. That's about the best possible start you could have to the new season. So congratulations there. Great to talk to you, Ryan. Thanks very much indeed for your time.
Can I just say thanks to Racecar Radio's BFBS and Splunk, please. They're the sponsors for this event, so just give them a little shout out, and cheers for the support.
You're more than welcome, and I'm sure that that's much appreciated by everybody. And David, we've got we've set the scene, haven't we? Now with 2 really exciting weeks of racing, and a lot more to come.
It certainly is great to hear from both Ryan and from Stu about their mixed fortunes tonight. Obviously, they'll be hoping to really run with the season. Brilliant start to the season so far for Ryan, but we head over now next week we are over to Donington GP for round 3 for races 5 and 6 of the championship, so please make sure you can join us for that one though. But on behalf of myself and John Knighton, it's a huge thank you to all of you out there for watching. A huge thank you to our production team of Mike Yao behind the scenes for making this happen. A huge thank you to all our commercial partners as well, BFBS, Army, RAF and the Royal Navy, as well as Splunk and Race Car Seats as well, for helping make this happen. Have a wonderful week, and we will see you next Tuesday.